Hello, we're here at RTX 2017 still, and you may have noticed there are 3 magical unicorns sitting in front of me. These magical beings have emerged out of a dark and dingy cellar to arrive here in Austin. I'm surprised to see all of you. I'm proud that all of you are here, and I'm very happy that you are all here. How was your flight? You landed this morning, right?
Yeah, it was real shitty. Are we allowed to say shitty?
And immediately all of the positives just like, no, it was fucking awful.
It was
like,
awful,
I hated it.
We got to the airport at 5 o'clock p.m. and didn't leave the airport until 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so the flight was fine. The 8 hours in the airport was less fine.
8 hours in the airport?
Yeah.
And you're all still in one piece and no one's dead, no one killed each other?
No, we came real close at the end though.
We sit in a room not moving all day, so it wasn't anything new.
I have visions of all 3 of you just switches, just sat there, just
we did a Mario Kart battle for
Played some Mario Kart, yeah. Kept it as positive as we could.
As it got, yeah.
About as heated as it got, who firing the blue shell.
Right.
I was doing very well in that tournament until Jacob started.
Yeah, I'll say I was the one being hit by the blue shell, so.
Classic humble brag there.
Yeah.
So what is it like working at Funhaus? Because I feel like a lot of, I know Peake, I know that you do a lot of open house, so you get the chance to respond to a lot of people, but for you guys, how is it working at Funhaus? How is it kind of being in there? Because you 3 occasionally make appearances on camera, which I imagine is probably because you're extremely busy. But when you can, you know, it's always nice to see you guys. So what is it like working behind the scenes in a separate room to the rest of the guys?
I like it a lot. It's super fun. All of the people that we work with in the trailer, we work in a trailer. We work outside of the main office and stuff, obviously. But it's rad. Everybody's super awesome. The content we're making is super fun. It's great. It's like working with a bunch of friends and stuff. It's awesome.
It's definitely a plus that the content that we're working on is naturally funny because of the people who are like in the actual content, and like we just kind of like getting to kind of sculpt it into something like more like specifically funny is great because like we get to laugh all day, which is funny for any like onlookers in our editing space when it's like a bunch of people sitting there in the dark laughing every 5 minutes.
With all the headphones on, it's just silent, and then tell someone outbursts with laughter or whatever. Yeah.
So what's it like when one of your edits, so I guess the most recent one would be the Elise ponytail joke that was on top of Reddit yesterday. What's it like when one of your edits is taken kind of almost out of context and then put without any context onto the internet and then it becomes interesting? Do you sort of sit there going like, shit? Or are you like, I'm actually really glad that it's out there and that it's having a debate kind of thing?
I mean, it's exposure.
It's always, for me at least, completely unexpected. And then, it's kind of endearing after that, I would say. So it's all in good fun.
It's amazing that anybody watches any of the stupid stuff that we do anymore. So, like, if it ends up on Reddit or whatever, like, that's just cooler. You know, being a part of what all those guys do and stuff, it's like super awesome.
In the interest of being fair, Adam and Bruce literally sat just behind the camera. They seem to be like banging truncheons. I don't really know what that means. And Bruce, I think, is armed with a gun, but I'm not sure. He probably is. Who knows?
It's like the opposite.
It is Texas.
It is Texas after all. I've seen no guns here. I thought everyone in Texas just wandered around with AR-15s, but no, none to be found. Very disappointing. I was going to ask, in terms of editing stuff, have you ever had an entire computer or an entire drive just completely die? And how do you kind of recover when that happens?
This happens to me all the time, I think.
Are you cursed?
I guess so. One of the shows that we do is Twits and Crits,
right.
And that one is very complicated. We record 6 different cameras, all recording at the same time, so we got drives for each camera. We have one major drive that Jacob and I share to do the edits on, and I've had the individual drives crash on me. I've had the major drive, the master drive that holds all the footage for the entire season, just take a big old shit on there, and then we just kind of have to scramble and we do what we can. Like we do a little bit of redundancy to make sure that stuff is not gone forever, but usually it's just like scramble hard. The end of this current or the previous season 3 of Twist and Crits, the last episode was due, and the day before luckily, I mean, this is awesome. We got to go to Disneyland and have fun and do all this crazy stuff, but then we came back and the drive was dead. And like we had basically half a day to put an entire episode together from raw footage that we had to rip separately off this other drive.
Yeah, it was an episode that was done.
Yeah.
And then we went to Disneyland, came back, and then had to do it again.
And I had to cut that. It was like an hour or so, six cam multicam, and I had to do it in like 4 hours or something. Put it all back together.
Usually with smaller projects, it's not like as big a thing, because like it's like transferring any of that stuff is quick. But yeah, I guess that was like specifically the worst case because it was such a huge thing we were dealing with.
Each piece of media is like hundreds of gigs, so transferring 6 times hundreds of gigs is crazy. But for the rest of it, the office is actually set up very redundant proof or redundant ready. We have a drive that's in the other room that copies all the stuff, a computer that has all that stuff. Each individual editor copies stuff over, so we have like everything is in multiple places right there.
When you're this is going to be a question for the nerds. So when you're editing, are you using Premiere? I think I've seen the background.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you using the multicam? Vision mixer inside Premiere? Are you loading all 6 different things and then just using the numpads to cut between 1, 2, 3, and 4, or do you physically and manually manipulate each timeline?
Right. No. It's pretty much they're all in a multicam sequence that is either a lot of the guys do it to numbers. I personally have it up and click each camera panel. I edit that way. But yes, it's with a multicam feature.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than people would think to get all that stuff. So Premiere's pretty fucking awesome.
You can do a rhythm too.
Yeah.
Like cutting those twits and crits and like going between each camera angle. Like when you're like half an hour into that, you're just like playing piano.
I imagine it's the same with Open House as well at some point where you're just constantly going back and forth.
Yeah.
So, being in front of the camera sometimes attracts a certain unique type of people. Do you ever get sent weird stuff in your DMs or via mail? And if so, what is it you've been sent? And I feel like, Peake, you might get the worst out of everyone here.
Overall, it's really, I think, quite tame. I've gotten some strange things, like strange sort of like just an odd question or like a one word, like I'm trying to think of a weird example, but I usually am just, as long as it's not some odd, bizarre, inappropriate thing, I'll usually just be weird back and then get a conversation going, like a just brief conversation. But overall, it's been very mild, I must say.
Not for me.
Not for you?
I got an example actually that I saved.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and read it. I'll read part of it because it's pretty horrific. Let's see, where was
So you got PTSD going back through this.
I mean, Omar, you can like.
I don't get it. I mean, occasionally people send me like expletives and stuff, but I feel like I'm so rarely in people's consciousness that I don't get stuff like that.
Yeah, this is from a GTA video that I briefly was in, where it said, the person said, "I'd love to see the themes of Jacob's homosexuality explored the way Kovic explores Jacob's tight pink fun tunnel." Yeah.
Wow.
That was a DM?
No, that was a comment.
Oh.
I feel like you've got the start of a wonderful fanfic there, and I'm surprised that Funhaus hasn't got a Funhaus fanfic already.
They might be out there.
Apparently, one exists about Peake that he chooses
No, I mean,
to ignore.
well, yeah, I don't want to encourage that, any of that at all. No, this was like, this has been going on for years. I think at PAX in 2014 or something, that was part of our panels. We read fan fiction, and it was like really difficult to read this stuff. So it's been going on a long time.
Earlier I was speaking to Jeff Ramsey, and he said that you tried to kill him once, Omar.
I did.
He's worried that you don't like him.
I know. I feel so terrible. We did this like, I forget what it was even for. It was some ad for AT&T or something. And Jeff came in. He was in LA. It was super cool to see him. Because Jeff is a rad dude. And I mean I've interacted with him kinda, but not a ton. And then the director of this shoot kept coming over to me and be like, "Hey, we were throwing stuff at him," is what the shoot was. And I mistakenly let on earlier, like, "Oh, I used to play water polo. Like, I can throw a ball pretty good." And the guy, he's like, "I need you to really fucking hit him. Like, I need you to hit him hard so he actually reacts. And then I need you to whiz him by his face over and over." And then every time Jeff would look at me, he's like, "Dude, we don't have to go crazy." And then the director would be in my ear, like, "You gotta hit him really hard." Like, really hard. I'm just like, well, I'm gonna get fired after this. So I just started wailing on him with like tennis balls or whatever.
Cake.
And cake, yeah.
Yeah, you hit him with the cake, didn't you?
The last one.
Full-size Costco cake.
Yeah, it was a big ass birthday cake. I had to do it twice. The first time I threw it flipped over and the bottom of the cardboard thing hit him in the face, and I felt terrible because I threw it really hard. And then the second time I was like, okay, well I'm gonna do this a little better, and I like pushed it into his face. But yeah,
Could have knocked him off his feet.
yeah, like I felt afterward. I was like, well, it was fun. I've enjoyed my time here, but Rooster Teeth is not gonna be my.
What a ride it's been. Here's my here's my resignation.
You know, one of the co-founders is going to kill me. So this is all been great, guys. Thanks. But it was fantastic. I hope Jeff doesn't know. I hope he knows that I don't actually hit him. He's a really rad dude.
In terms of things getting cut on the cutting room floor when you're editing, has there ever been a joke or a segment that you can remember that you were like, man, I wish we could put this out, but it's just too spicy, or it's just not. It's a very inside joke or anything like that. Does that happen a lot? And do you kind of have any that stick out in your mind?
Oh man.
I mean, it does happen a lot. I mean, like you've seen the content, right? Like it walks the line already, and it does cross it sometimes. And it's like it's up to us to make sure that stuff doesn't get too crazy or whatever. But I mean, that's just part of it. But I can't remember any specifically like somebody called somebody a dick or some shit or something like that.
There's never too much, from what I've seen, of like, people like getting angry at each other within the people that are on camera getting cut out. That's always usually fair game and pretty civil. But I think there's some like borderline racist stuff that we've cut out. I'm struggling to think of a.
I'm surprised having you guys let Black Mark Twain just walk right through. I'm shocked.
I think there is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
There's a video that me and John Smith, another editor, we both worked on, and like the stuff that we cut, it was another Grand Theft Auto video, but it was like just packed, like chock full of misogynistic jokes. And
Is this the oral sex one?
The one, oh yes.
The Bruce oral sex
Yes,
rap.
that's the one. And like, I mean, all the best jokes got in there, but the amount of jokes that got cut out of that like half hour of streaming to like get condensed into what was left was like crazy, and it was all like horrific stuff about like girls need to take a shower, like learn to take a shower. But like what I end up doing with that is, I mean, something I do is I'll upload full uncut videos to the Rooster Teeth site.
Right.
So if Rooster Teeth fans really want to get their hands on some saucy stuff, they can go watch the full video.
Yeah, become a first mover.
Yeah, we go first.
Nice plug.
Where's those dollar signs?
Yeah,
on my eyes?
and like all those dudes have like, they actually are not terrible people. You know, like it's all joking. They have actually pretty good filters, so like they don't let like truly offensive things come out. It's just, sometimes like things, when you're skating the line, you have to be careful, and that's what we do.
Obviously, Bruce and Adam and Lawrence have started to kind of brush into their own streaming, and they've got their own sort of following. Do you guys feel like you're going to follow suit in that way, or are you guys just kind of happy to stay more in the background of things?
I've considered it, but I'm not sure if it's something I genuinely want to do. I'm roommates with Bruce, and what I've kind of gone back and forth with on him is, if there's ever a night where he wants to stream but he doesn't want to play, like I'll load up something I'm playing and he can just kind of monitor chat. So we're kind of planning on doing that, but me kind of doing my own thing, to kind of on my own and developing that is, I've thought about it, but I'm not sure I'm ready to pull the trigger or that I ever will. But that's where I'm at.
I like playing with that stuff, so I've set up like all of the stuff to do it many times. I'm like, I can tweak this little thing and do that, but I never actually started doing it. I've considered it too, but I don't know if people actually want to sit and watch me talk for an hour. I don't know if that's a thing.
That's the other thing, yeah. I always, yeah.
Like, I could play a video game for an hour, but I don't know if people are going to want me to talk over it and do all this other stuff, but it is fun to play with, and I've considered it, yeah.
It's something I kind of dabbled with before working for Funhaus, because like, yeah, when I was younger, I got my hands on a capture device. I'm like, oh cool, I'll become a YouTuber now. And then like it's like I'll just pop in Skyrim, it just makes money. And then like straight into that, it's like, oh shit, I have to be charming and funny and be able to not ever stop talking. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll just edit the videos.
Yeah. It is a lot of work.
How did you guys get hired at Funhaus? I feel like that's a question that when I watch sort of like some of the comments in the Twitters and Reddit and stuff, the questions are, how do the editors get to where they are? I imagine that it must be pretty fucking hard to get a job at Funhaus. And I feel like I'd be interested to know sort of how you all got there.
I can go first. I actually did a lot of contract work, editing around different places in LA, and then I landed a pretty steady part-time role at GameTrailers.com. I don't know if you remember Game Trailers.
I remember Game Trailers.
Yeah, Game Trailers was super awesome. Yeah, before it died and before all those people got laid off. Yeah, but it was super awesome, and I met Elise, and then I met James because I met Elise, and they were super cool, and I got to work with them a lot at Game Trailers and do a bunch of stuff, and then the opportunity arose that they needed an editor at Funhaus, and James and Elise totally came through for me. So it was super awesome. Yeah, so basically I owe it to those two. But yeah, I had done work, but I got real lucky that I had met those people in real life, and yeah.
Yeah, one of the consistent questions I get asked on DMs or whatever is, how did you get your start? How did you get onto Funhaus? And it really, I think, it's who you know, and I came over with the original team from when we were at Machinima, and the original 7 guys that made the move to Funhaus. I was part of that group, and
I do remember you vaguely coming on a Machinima, reading things. And
I was very maybe 2 or 3 videos ever at Machinima that I was in, even though I was there for years. It was much less. It was kind of, we all go over to Funhaus. We're all putting the camera in everybody's face. So I knew those guys and worked with those guys, and they wanted me along, and so but. Really, it goes back to Adam. Adam Kovic is the guy that brought me on to Machinima when he needed an editor back in the day. So it's really all who you know and timing. Sadly, I mean, it's awesome.
You
But
lived in Adam's garage, or did you live in Jess's garage?
This was before that. This leads to that. Yeah, I met Adam because I was roommates with Jess, Adam's now wife.
Right.
And a bunch of other people in college. And yes, I rented the garage for a few months toward the end of school, and so that's how I met Adam.
Which is possibly one of my favourite Peak stories. It's just the idea of you in a garage going to the gym to shower. It's the best.
It was wonderful. It was cheap rent, and I lived with my buddies, and oh man, it was great. So anyway.
That is so classically Peak. Yeah. I'm sure people kind of put that stuff together, but that's real Peak. True Peak is living on the cheap in a garage and going to a gym to shower.
What more could you need?
With a bucket of oats.
I didn't have the oats yet, but...
Yeah, I guess for me it was something a little bit more typical. When Funhaus started, I became their first intern.
Right.
And so I just it was weird because the things that we have interns do now is a lot different than it was then. Because now with so many editors and stuff, you have them do more assistant editing stuff. When I was an intern, I actually did some editing. I cut some videos and stuff because there were so few people there still. So I would kind of be involved in a few more things. And once that was done, I kept helping out with live shows and stuff. And then there came a point where a bunch of job opportunities came up. And when that happened, I got a hold of Bruce and said hey, if you guys are looking for more people, I'd be willing. And then I got another job.
Oh, good.
Which didn't end up being that great. And then Bruce emailed me 2 weeks into that, hey, we'll hire you. And I was fuck, now I gotta leave this job.
My favorite, real quick, was when you weren't an intern anymore, but we were still show up to our live show and run the booth for free.
Oh yeah, I was selling merch for free.
Not an intern, not getting paid.
They had me sitting outside the Hollywood Improv at midnight with the creeps walking by and stuff, just with a fold-out table with shirts.
Oh god.
It was wonderful. Look, it got me where I am today.
Is it terrible that all our stories are know somebody and get your it's not
it's a big
work
thing.
Really hard and learn your thing.
I mean,
and
yes,
make yourself yourself better.
You do have to work hard too, because if you know someone but they know you for not working hard, they're not going to recommend you. You know, they're not gonna want to bring you on. So. In my limited experience, that's what I observed.
It's difficult explaining to partners what it is you do when you first met them. When they were like, "What is it you do for a job?" and you're like, "I edit other people screaming on YouTube."
I tell them that I make poop jokes on the internet, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, the internet."
Yeah.
The video editing aspect is always like they get that, but then it's like, what do you edit? It's that's the hard part. So.
Yeah, I'll go and tell my girlfriend constantly, like, you gotta hear what I did today. It's like, sure, you know all the editing stuff, but today they were like, just turning Lord of the Rings, like, names and stuff into porn.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Jacob, because one of the conversations I was having on the internet this morning before I got here was what would happen if RTX had a bootleg festival called RTXXX.
Oh,
and all
God.
it is porn parodies of classic Rooster Teeth shows. And all day I've been asking people, do you have any particularly good porn parodies? Adam and Bruce's solution to this was just to put the word fuck instead of fun in front of all of their shows. So fuck wheel, or wheel fuck, I think it was.
Yeah, instead of house on
open
everything.
Fuck, and crits and fucks. You know?
Oh my god. Oh man,
And you
I
can
gotta
go
think
across
real
the board
hard.
if you want, you know, any other properties.
So somebody else go.
I mean, the whole company, being Rooster, you can put cock in front of everything. You
Yeah.
know, cock teeth, Ruby show.
What?
Cock teeth.
You just change the R and Ruby to a B and it's booby.
Oh yeah, boobies.
Just an animated show is just boobs for an hour.
I mean, that's basically most
With your
anime,
main
right?
character, Booby Bows.
With Sex Swing, well, not your animated show, but Sex Swing was an animated show. Did you have any hand in editing that? Because I know animators animated it.
Yeah,
Were you allowed to edit the final pieces, or was that all done in HQ in Austin?
It was all Austin,
It was all. I mean, there was a point in the very, very beginning when somebody, I think it was even James, might have got a little bit of got to touch some of the first like rough of the first episode and stuff. But yeah, RT Animation is a giant department, and they make a shitload of stuff, and it's all really good, and they handle basically the entire thing. The talent of Funhaus, they got to do the writing. They wrote it all,
right.
which is really impressive because I could never write a TV show. Like coming up with things to say in real life is hard enough. I don't know how you could write back and forth dialogue.
Yeah,
and
while
stuff.
also visualizing how it could be comedically funny to watch,
Yeah.
like a cartoon character
crazy.
do.
But yeah, RT Animation, man, they do a lot of shit and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like some of you have niches whenever you're on the Let's Plays. Like, I feel like they always give you horror games.
Yeah,
Is
they
that
do.
True? Is it because you have a predisposition to being terrified of horror games?
Yeah, I scream a lot, and I get scared. Though I think, like, the first thing they made me do was a VR horror game, and I don't think it's ever been as scary as that. Yeah, because it was quickly discovered that I squeal quite easily.
Nice.
Yeah,
gets
so they
very
take advantage
tense.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's not the don't blink.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things I've ever cut. There was a scary gameplay with Jacob, and they were playing Stay Close, is a game where two people
With the fog and the monsters that move.
the
Oh my
light
God,
and the
yeah.
dark and stuff. And Jacob's just talking, having a good time, and he turns a corner and he sees this monster, and he freaked out so much that he just went like this with the mouse. And as I was cutting it, I kept having to stop because I was laughing so hard and I was crying and I couldn't concentrate on what I was doing, and I would stop and I'd collect myself and then accidentally put the playhead back in front of the thing and see it again, and just the whole.
I was in like mid-sentence too. I'm like, I looked in the room. I'm like, oh look, this thing's written on the wall.
It was, oh man, and that makes me cry right now. Even. It's so fucking
It made
good.
me cry too, but in a different way.
Oh no. Well, guys, honestly, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me. I feel honoured that I've managed to get all three of you together in front of a camera for longer than 20 minutes.
All right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Jeff did say that you are one of the notoriously mouthiest talkers in the whole of Funhouse Peak.
I'm sure.
So I'm glad that you've lived up to that name. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you have a wonderful RTX.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man.
If I'm ever in LA, I will try and have a scheduled visit, not just turn up
in.
with a resume and be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Let me in.